I've spent the past few months testing every AI UGC tool out there, and honestly, 90% of them are useless. At first glance, all AI UGC generators really do look the same. They all make the same bold promises, show the exact same polished demo videos, and use avatars whose voices perfectly match their lips. But once you start creating with them, the differences get massive. Some spit out clips so fake you'd be embarrassed to post them, while others are producing content so good that some brands are already pulling in over $130,000 a month using nothing but AI-generated UGC ads. So after all that trial and error, I found 4 tools that look very promising, and in this video, I'll break down each one, show you exactly how they perform, and reveal which tool creates the most realistic, high-converting UGC, so you can stop wasting time on broken tools and finally make videos that actually sell. To make this fair, I'm not just gonna sit here and throw random opinions at you. We're taking 4 of the most popular battle-tested AI UGC generators and putting them head-to-head. And look, each of them has their own strengths, so instead of me just picking a favorite out of thin air, I've built a full report card to see how they actually stack up. Every single tool is going to get a rating in each category, as either excellent, great, decent, or weak. That way, you can see exactly where each one does great, and where it completely falls flat. And we're going to be testing them on the 5 key principles for UGCs: realism and quality. So how human do the avatars actually look and sound? Do they feel like believable creators you'd trust with your ad? Or like robots reading off a teleprompter? Speed and efficiency. So how fast can you go from an idea in your head to a finished video on your desktop? Can you create 50 variations in an hour? Or are you stuck waiting 15 minutes just for one clip to render? Ease of use, because let's be honest, if you've got to spend hours watching tutorials before you can even figure out how to make a scene, you're not going to stick with the tool. Then there's versatility. So how many avatars do you get? How many languages can it speak? How much can you customize it? And most importantly, do those features actually work well enough to use in real campaigns? And cost effectiveness. And here, I'm not just talking about which one is the cheapest. I'm talking about which one gives you the most value for your money. The one that saves you the most time, effort, and headaches without overcharging you for it. Now, every single one of these tools is cheaper than hiring real creators, but that doesn't automatically mean they're worth it, and when you see the ratings, you'll know exactly which ones are. Let's get into it. We're gonna start with how easy each tool is to use, and ease of use is one of those things you can only judge once you're actually inside the platform. Now, the first tool we're testing is one of the most widely used platforms for creating UGC ads right now, and that is VO3. Now, VO3 is currently one of the most popular and powerful AI video generators online, and even though it's not a complete UGC generator, it's still widely used for all kinds of ad creation, including UGC ads. But it's worth noting that VO3 isn't accessible in every country, and in the worst case, you might have to use a VPN just to log in. That alone instantly makes it lose points for ease of use. When you open up VO3, which I'm doing here through Flow, you're met with a minimalistic, easy to understand interface. Right away, you've got the option to start a new project, and clicking that takes you to a clean page with a single prompt box and a few settings. Let me quickly walk you through it. In the top left corner of the prompt box, you can choose how you want to make your video. There's text to video, which lets you just type in a prompt. There's frames to video, which lets you upload a starting frame. Super useful if you want to lock in a specific face, so the AI uses that same face throughout the ad. And finally, there's ingredients to video, which lets you upload photos that the AI uses as elements inside the video. For example, giving your on-screen person different items to hold or interact with. Switching back to text to video, on the right side, you can choose your model, the number of outputs per prompt, and the quality setting. I recommend going with quality here because it really does make a difference, especially when you're creating videos entirely with AI. Without it, the results just aren't as good. So for ease of use, the interface is pretty straightforward. But where VO3 struggles compared to other UGC generators is in the prompting. Because it's so advanced, you really need to be good at writing prompts or have solid frameworks ready to get great results. If you don't, you'll end up spending a lot of time just trying to craft the perfect prompt before you can even start making videos. And even then, you can only produce videos with a limit of 8 seconds, which means you are forced to create upwards of 5 generations that all have to be perfect if you want a decently long video. We'll come back to this when we get to speed and efficiency, but for now, in terms of ease of use, VO3 gets a decent rating. Now, the next tool in our lineup is called UGC Ads AI. This one's a little simpler overall, and and is designed for more of a beginner audience. When you log into UGC Ads AI, you're met with a homepage that immediately lets you choose one of the built-in avatars. You can pick between outdoor, indoor, or a few other settings, and you can also choose the gender. For this test, I'll just go with this one right here by clicking the plus icon. From there, it asks for your product name, a short product description, and your logo if you want to include one. I'll fill those in quickly. Then, you choose the video format, either 9:16, 1:1, or 16:9, and the duration, which can vary depending on what you're making. I'll go with the middle option here, 30 seconds. Next, there's an optional question about your target audience, for example, AI enthusiasts. And finally, you choose the language. There's actually quite a large selection here, but I'm just going to stick with English for now. Once that's set, you click Next, the AI processes your inputs, and you're taken to the script creation screen. Here, you can either choose from one of the AI-generated scripts, which I think are fine if you're completely new, or you can write your own. Personally, if you have any experience with UGC ads, you'll probably prefer writing your own, which you can do here with up to 1,200 characters. For this showcase, I'll just select one of the pre-made scripts and click Next, and that's pretty much the whole process. It's quick and straightforward, and it really guides you step by step from start to finish. For ease of use, I'm giving UGC Ads AI a great rating. Now for our next tool, we're starting to get pretty professional. It's called ArcAds, and this one is a true AI UGC generator. When you log in, you're greeted with a clean home screen. In the top left corner, there's a button to start a new project. Clicking that opens a very minimalistic prompt window, and it actually reminds me a bit of VO3, and that's instantly a plus for ease of use. Once you're inside, you've got a few options. In the bottom left, you can choose either text-to-speech or speech-to-speech, in case you already have a pre-recorded MP3 or MP4 file. I'll stick with text-to-speech for this example. Right next to that is the option to add actors. Clicking it opens a large library of different avatars. ArcAds has 1,000 avatars in total, and if that is still not enough, it also allows you to make your own avatars and even turn yourself into one. On the left, you can filter them by categories like male, senior, casual, and you can even sort by emotions, skin tones, demographics, and accessories like bags or glasses. If you hover over any option, you'll see a short preview video and hear the voice, which makes picking the right avatar much easier. Once you've chosen one, click Add Actor at the bottom, and it's imported into your project. From there, you can write your script. We'll come back to that when we test the results, but one thing worth pointing out is the settings icon next to your selected actor. Here you can tweak things like speed, stability, which controls how consistent the voice sounds, and similarity, which adjusts how closely consecutive lines match in tone. Lower stability adds more natural variation, while higher stability makes it sound steadier and more professional. You can also click the voiceover settings icon, which opens an even bigger panel for customizing the voice itself. You can change the age, switch between tons of different languages and accents, and even connect to 11 Labs. If you know anything about 11 Labs, you'll know it's one of the most powerful AI voice generators out there, and you can even train it with 30 minutes of your own content to completely recreate your voice. So overall, ArcAds is packed with features. For ease of use, I'm giving it a great rating. The only reason it's not getting an excellent is that the huge feature set can be a little overwhelming for beginners. But if you're already experienced with UGC or AI tools, then honestly, for you, it's excellent. Now, the last tool we're testing is called Creatify. This one is also a UGC generator, but it's definitely not as professional as ArcAds. When you first log in, you land on a clean dashboard with the option to start a new project. One of the features here is that you can paste in your product link, similar to UGC Ads AI, and the platform will automatically pull in the product name, description, and some basic assets from that page. Now, I'll be honest, the assets it pulls aren't always amazing, but they can be helpful if you don't already have something ready. Once you've checked the info, you click Next and choose your video settings. You can pick the platform you're creating for, the aspect ratio, vertical, square, or landscape, and the duration with options for 15, 30, or 60 seconds. Then you choose your language and optionally define a target audience. After that, Creatify will give you a few AI-generated script options. You can also write your own, which is what I recommend, because honestly, the scripts aren't that good, especially if you're aiming for something that actually converts well. There are a few preset styles for this script, like brand story, how-to, or benefits, and you can tweak the tone from casual to professional. Next comes the avatar selection. You can choose from a library of realistic and styled avatars. For this example, let's just say I pick one of their realistic avatars and move on. From there, you can get a preview of the generated video before you render it. Overall, Creatify does a solid job of guiding you through the process step by step. It's not overly complicated, but it's also not the most flexible platform out there. For ease of use, I'm giving it a great rating. So now let's take a look at the final results for ease of use. Veo 3 gets a decent rating, mostly because of the access issues in some countries, and the fact that you really need strong prompting skills to get the most out of it. UGC Ads AI gets a great rating for being a straightforward, beginner-friendly platform that guides you through the whole process. ArcAds lands between great and excellent for how self-explanatory it is once you know your way around. And finally, Creatify also gets a great rating for being simple to navigate, even if it's not the most flexible option out there. But how fast can you actually go from idea to finished video with these tools? Going back to Veo 3, one big issue we need to revisit is the prompting. This has a huge impact on speed and efficiency, because if you don't already know how to prompt well, you'll first have to spend time learning it, then run tests with different variations, and then figure out ways to work around the AI's quirks. One way to speed it up is by having a pre-made AI image ready. As you can see here, when I switch to frames to video, I can upload an image like that, and it makes the process easier since you don't have to keep re-describing your character's look in every prompt. But if you don't already have an image or know how to make one, this slows you down a lot. On top of that, generation times here are noticeably slower compared to the other tools in our lineup. Veo 3 builds the video from the ground up, which means it naturally takes longer. Combine that with constant prompt tweaking and regenerating to get the right look, and you lose even more time. And finally, you're limited by how many generations you can afford. There's no unlimited plan here, so costs can stack up quickly if you're not careful. For speed and efficiency, Veo 3 gets a weak rating. When it comes to speed and efficiency, UGC Ads AI actually performs pretty well. As you saw in the last section, when we walked through the process, you can get from start to finish in just a few minutes. Rendering times are also fairly quick, so you won't be stuck waiting ages for a final video. The only part that might slow you down is script creation. If you really want to make something high quality and tailored, you'll spend extra time refining the copy. But beyond that, it's easy to pump out multiple AI videos in a short session. One limitation though is the daily video cap. Depending on your subscription level, you're limited to 5, 10, or 50 videos per day. That can hurt your efficiency if you're testing a lot of variations or running multiple campaigns at once. And that's a big deal, because with UGC ads, the real winners are usually the ones who can test the most creative angles the fastest. If you're stuck waiting for the next day to try a new hook or variation, you're slowing down your feedback loop, and every extra day can mean wasted budget and missed opportunities to scale what works. If you hit your cap and don't want to upgrade, you'll simply have to wait until the next day to keep going. Overall, I'd place UGC Ads AI somewhere between decent and great for speed and efficiency. It's quick to use, but the daily limits and occasional need to remake videos hold it back from a perfect score. When it comes to speed and efficiency, ArcAds really stands out. Once you've gone through the initial setup to create your first video, rendering times are fairly standard compared to other UGC generators. The real advantage comes in how quickly you can produce variations. After creating a video, you can hover over it, click the 3 dots, and choose Remix. This pulls your exact actor, script, and settings back into the prompt box, letting you tweak things like speed, stability, similarity, script, or voice without starting from scratch. That means you can make small changes like swapping out a hook and instantly have multiple testable variations. On top of that, ArcAds supports batch creation. You can select multiple actors at once, whether that's 2, 10, or even 15, and generate videos for all of them in a single go. That's huge because it means you can instantly adapt the same ad for multiple demographics, testing different ages, styles, or backgrounds at the same time without having to rebuild the project from scratch. And targeting different demographics isn't just a choice, it's a conversion strategy. Because when your ad feels like it's coming from someone who looks, talks, and presents themselves like the audience you're trying to reach, it builds instant trust and relatability. With over 1,000 actors available, you can create a huge number of unique ads quickly without repeating the same manual steps over and over. For those reasons, ArcAds gets a clear excellent rating for speed and efficiency. When it comes to speed and efficiency, Creatify does run through the process quite fast. Once you've selected your product and settings, it can generate multiple video variations using the assets it pulled from the product link. That said, while the turnaround time is not bad, the way these videos are edited often feels a bit on the cheaper side. Not unusable, but not something I'd fully rely on without some extra polishing. Because of that, while it's definitely faster than some other tools in the lineup, the raw quality of what you get means you might spend extra time making adjustments afterward. For that reason, I'd give Creatify a grade or decent for speed and efficiency. So looking at speed and efficiency across the board, VO3 lands on the weaker side. The slow generation times, the constant back and forth with prompts, and the fact that there's no unlimited plan really hold it back if you're trying to move fast. UGC Ads AI does a better job here. You can get from start to finish quickly, but the daily caps and the occasional need to redo videos keep it somewhere between decent and great. Arcads is where things really shine. The remix feature and batch creation make it incredibly quick to pump out variations, so it's a clear excellent in this category. And finally, Creatify is also pretty quick to use, but because the editing quality feels a bit on the cheaper side, you might end up spending extra time polishing things up, which keeps it somewhere between decent and great for me. But now it's time to look at what might be the most important part of any UGC ad: the quality and realism of the final output. After all, if it doesn't look and feel believable, it won't matter how fast or easy it was to make. When it comes to realism and quality with Google VO3, it really comes down to your prompting skills. The better your prompt, the better the realism and overall quality you'll get out of it. For my test, I used the prompt you can see on screen. And now let's take a look.
Okay, so I've been using Glow Boost for about 2 weeks now, and my skin, it's never felt this smooth. Okay, so I've been using Glow Boost for about 2 weeks now, and my skin, it's never felt this smooth.
And yes, the realism is there. You can absolutely create something visually convincing for UGC ads with Google VO3. But here's where the problem kicks in. I wrote about 4 lines of script for the character to say, and what I actually got back was an 8-second clip of them saying essentially one line. Combine that with the casting limitations, the cap on generations, and how tricky it is to keep a character consistent across multiple videos, and you'll find it's almost impossible to make a full, coherent ad from start to finish. And that's not even mentioning testing different ads. Another thing worth pointing out is Google VO3's love for adding strange captions at the bottom of every video. In my case, they came out as complete gibberish, making the clip basically unusable for professional ad purposes. Sure, you could run it through a caption removal tool afterward, but if you can pick a platform that doesn't add them in the first place, that's obviously the better choice. So while the realism is solid, the actual quality and usability for a complete UGC ad just isn't there, which is why I'm giving VO3 a weak rating for this category. When it comes to UGC Ads AI, once you render the video and it syncs the lip movements to your script, you actually end up with a pretty decent looking result.
Can you believe that AI can unlock new possibilities in your daily life? I recently discovered some incredible AI tools that have completely changed the way I work and create content.
The realism is there for the most part, and is definitely passable for quick ad concepts or mock-ups. That said, you'll quickly run into a ceiling with the actors available. If you're only working within UGC Ads AI, you'll find yourself reusing the same faces pretty fast, which becomes a problem if you want to test multiple hooks, scripts, or demographics with different presenters. It's not a deal breaker for a few quick tests, but it does limit the variety and over time, the believability of your ads. So while the output here is by no means bad, it's also not something I'd rely on heavily for large-scale or long-term campaigns. For realism, I'm giving UGC Ads AI a decent. It delivers a respectable result, but the limitations keep it from going any higher. Now, when it comes to output for Arcads, this is where things start getting unreasonably good. Looking at the 2 results I generated, this one right here.
You know, after playing golf for decades, I've learned one thing. Your swing is everything. This little mat has been a game changer for my practice. I can see exactly where my club's hitting, fix my stance, and get real feedback without stepping foot on the course.
And this one right here.
You know, after playing golf for decades, I've learned one thing. Your swing is everything. This little mat has been a game changer for my practice. I can see exactly where my club's hitting, fix my stance, and get real feedback without stepping foot on the course.
You can really see just how much you can do with this tool. The realism in the lip sync, the sharpness of the video, and the way it feels like it was filmed on an iPhone by a real person all come together to create something that could easily pass as genuine UGC. On top of that, Arcads gives you access to over 1,000 actors, and you can tweak all kinds of aspects of their voices, from accents to tone, or even add in your own voice. That means you can quite literally create UGC ads featuring yourself, along with endless custom variations. Combine that flexibility with the consistently high quality of the final video, and you've got a fully professional tool that can handle almost any project. To really show you what I mean, let's take a look at two of Arcad's standout features, B-roll and scenes. B-roll lets you create completely realistic background shots, like this one I made of a hair straightener. As you can see, the result looks incredibly lifelike, and that's because Arcad's actually uses Google Veo 3 to produce his B-roll and scene-based videos. For the scenes example, I went with something completely ridiculous just to push it to the limits. A video of a guy standing in front of an elephant-sized ant screaming out the script.
It's right behind me. This thing is huge.
Even in this over-the-top scenario, you can still see the same high level of quality and realism in the output. So in my book, Arcad's gets an excellent rating for quality and realism simply because the results are just that good. Now, when it comes down to the quality for Creatify, the realism here is actually great, the lip sync lines up well, the delivery feels natural, and the person on screen looks convincing enough that these could absolutely work as UGC ads. For these kinds of simple, straight-to-camera videos, Creatify nails it. The problem is, most of what the platform gives you by default are heavily pre-edited videos, and that's where things fall off. The editing style just isn't that strong, and while there is a built-in editor, there's little reason to use it over a proper video editing tool if you want polished, professional UGC ads. The in-app edits tend to look like quick templates, rather than something you'd want as a finished ad. The platform does have some extra features, for example, the product video tool that turns an image into a short showcase clip, and these are nice to have. But when you stack Creatify up against something like Arcad's, which can do all that while tapping into Google Veo for hyper-realistic B-roll and scene creation, it's clear which one feels more like a top-tier UGC production tool. So purely as a UGC creative solution, Creatify doesn't quite hit the mark for an excellent. For me, this one lands at a solid grade for quality and realism. So wrapping up this category, Google Veo 3 can look realistic, but the short clips, odd captions, and tricky prompting drop it to a weak. UGC Ads AI gives you decent, believable results for quick ads, but variety is limited, so it stays at decent. Arcad's is the clear winner, consistently excellent quality, whether it's straight to camera, B-roll, or wild scenes. And Creatify, while capable of great realism in its simple, unedited videos, leans too much on weaker, pre-edited templates, so it lands at great. But the raw result isn't what makes you stick with a tool long term. It's what you can do beyond just making a single UGC video, what extra features, options, and creative tricks each one brings to the table. When it comes to extra features inside Veo 3, there really isn't much to talk about beyond creating single standalone videos, and honestly, that's not a huge surprise. The tool is built purely around AI video generation, not specifically for UGC ads, so while it's widely used, I can't say I'd recommend it if you're looking for versatility. Outside of picking your video creation method, switching between models, and choosing how many outputs you want, there's basically nothing else you can do here. For that reason, Google Veo 3 gets a weak rating from me in this category. Now, when we're talking about UGC Ads AI, there's also not a huge amount you can do in terms of extra features. One of the few options you do have is selecting different voices, just like in most other tools, and you can also switch the language, which works fine, though it's not the highest quality. You can generate AI scripts too, but as I've already mentioned, these inbuilt scripts just aren't that great in any of the tools we've looked at, so I'd still recommend using a dedicated script writing tool or writing your own if you want something that really works. So while there are a couple of extra features here, they're nothing groundbreaking, and overall, I'd place UGC Ads AI at a decent rating for features and versatility. Arcad's takes a very different approach when it comes to features and versatility, packing in far more creative tools than most of the other platforms we've looked at. Of course, we've got scenes and B-roll that are both super handy for creating extra assets to slot into your ads, and they both use Veo 3 on the back end to produce the videos, and that in itself removes the purpose of Veo 3 since you have it directly inside Arcad's. For example, I made this hair straightener B-roll earlier, and it looks like I went out and filmed it myself. And for the scenes, you can do everything from realistic lifestyle clips to completely over-the-top stuff, like that giant ant video I showed you earlier. But here's where it gets wild. There's this feature called Extend. So here's how it works. I'm in my project, I click the three dots in the corner, choose extend, then I pick a frame in my video, and that frame becomes the starting point for a whole new clip. Then we've got the actor system. You're not one click away from accessing a library of 1,000 plus actors. You can actually make your own. I click add actor, choose whether to upload an image or generate one from a prompt. Type something like blonde male in his 20s wearing a hoodie, and ArcAds gives me back 3 versions for me to pick from. I select the one I like, set it as a talking actor, and it's mine to use in any ad. This basically means unlimited actors, plus the ability to tailor them to match your audience. If you are selling baby products, then you can make a pregnant model, or if you are targeting a specific demographic, you can create someone who matches it exactly. And you can tweak every detail, accessories, emotions, even skin tone, to fit the creative perfectly. Plus, if you want your own voice in the ad, you can connect your 11 Labs account and bring in a custom AI voice clone. Now combine all of that with features we already covered, like the remix tool for quick variations, the speed of generating multiple versions, the ability to batch create across different actors, and you've got a tool that's basically built for endless testing and iteration. For me, that's why ArcAds gets an excellent in versatility. It's not just about making one good ad, it's about giving you the tools to make hundreds of variations, test them, and find the one that prints money. And finally, we have Creatify, which comes with a lot of tools, and that can be both a strength and, in some cases, a bit of a weakness. You can paste in a product URL, and it will pull the product assets, generate a script, and put together a basic video. It's fast, but for a serious UGC ad, you'll probably still want to work with your own script rather than the generic AI-generated ones. It has a built-in editor where you can change music, captions, and text styles, and while it's fine for small adjustments, there's not much reason to choose it over a dedicated video editor if you want full creative control. There's also a product video feature that turns a static product image into a short product rotation, AI short for quick animated ads, and batch mode, which can create up to 50 variations at once for A/B testing. These features can be useful, but the overall creative flexibility isn't quite as strong as what you can get with ArcAds. The biggest feature they market is AdMax, an all-in-one ad creation and management tool that generates creatives, runs campaigns, and automatically tests different versions. It's convenient if you want everything in one place, but it also means you're locked into their workflow. ArcAds takes a different approach by focusing purely on the creative output, letting you plug those videos into any ad testing setup you prefer. So while Creatify covers a wide range of functions and works well as a general purpose AI video tool, as a dedicated UGC ad creation platform, it still falls a step short of ArcAds, and for that reason, it gets a ranking of great. Alright, so Google VO3 is strong on pure video generation, but light on extra features. UGC Ads AI has a few more options, but still feels limited if you're after full creative control. Creatify throws in a lot of tools, but not all of them are really aimed at making top-performing UGC ads. And then ArcAds, which in my opinion, brings the best mix of quality, realism, and flexibility, making it the clear winner here. When we're talking about cost effectiveness, it's not just about who has the lowest monthly fee, it's about what you actually get for that money, and how much each ad really ends up costing you once you factor in volume, speed, and quality. VO3 is available directly through Google AI Ultra at $250 a month, which gives you 12,500 credits. Each video you generate uses up a portion of those credits, so the more you iterate and test variations, the faster your balance will drop. If you're producing short, high-quality clips and keeping your workflow tight, you can stretch that allowance a fair bit, but with VO3's slower generation times and the extra work often needed to get a fully usable result, the value can drop quickly once you start experimenting heavily. The realism is definitely there, but unless you're producing very strategically, the return on investment isn't amazing, which is why it still lands on the weaker side for cost effectiveness in my book. UGC Ads AI keeps things much more predictable. It comes in 3 different tiers. The light plan is $49.99 a month, and gives you 5 videos, which works out to about $10 per video. The creator plan is $99.99 a month for 10 videos, so still about $10 per video, just with double the volume. And then there's the pro plan, which is $249.99 a month for 50 videos. Here your cost per video drops to around $5. That's where it starts to get interesting, because at that price point, it's a solid choice for active ad testing, but you still run into the actor limitations we talked about earlier. So even though the cost per ad looks great on paper, the lack of variety can make it harder to keep things fresh long term. I'd still put it in the great category for cost effectiveness, but only if you're on the pro plan. Now let's look at ArcAds. The starter plan is $110 a month for 10 videos and the creator plan is $220 a month for around 20 videos. They also have a pro option for bigger teams that's custom priced. If you're on the creator plan, that works out to about $11 per video, which is more expensive than the rest, but then you factor in everything you get with it: batch generation, the remix feature, scenes, b-roll, and even the ability to create your own actors. And the value skyrockets, especially if you're producing a lot of content. You're not just paying for the videos themselves here, you're paying for speed and testing flexibility that can literally save you days of work. That's why for me, Arcad still sits firmly in the great category for cost effectiveness. Creatify also offers a range of plans. There's a free option that gives you 2 videos a month, but with a watermark. Then there's the starter plan at $39 a month for around 20 videos, which works out to about $2 per video. And the pro plan is $99 a month for around 40 videos, which comes out to roughly $2.50 per video. On paper, that's one of the cheapest cost per video out of all the tools here, and you do get a lot for that price. Batch mode, b-roll, videos up to 10 minutes long, and other things we have covered. The only catch is that the default editing style often means you'll need to spend extra time refining your ads after export. It doesn't ruin its value, but it does make it less of a plug-and-play option compared to something like Arcad's when you're trying to scale high-performing creatives. Still, I'd give it a great rating for cost effectiveness. Looking at the numbers alone, Creatify can get your cost per ad down to just a couple of bucks. UGC Ads AI's Pro tier lands around $5 per video, and VO3 is by far the most expensive once you account for iteration time. But when you balance price with features, speed, and the ability to test at scale, Arcad's is the one that keeps its return on investment high, no matter how much you throw at it. And that brings me to the most important point of this video. We're at the edge of a complete shift in how video ads are made. AI UGC generators aren't some niche experiment anymore. They're becoming one of the fastest, cheapest, and most scalable ways to create content that actually sells. The gap between AI and human shot UGC is shrinking so quickly that in a lot of cases, the audience can't even tell the difference. That means if you're still stuck waiting on creators to film, edit, and deliver, you're giving competitors a massive head start and are basically just wasting money. To put it in perspective, hiring a real creator for a single UGC ad can easily cost between $100 and $250, whereas even the most expensive plan we've looked at today works out to around $11 per ad, and that's at the very highest end. They can test 100 variations before you've even gotten your first draft back, and the brands leading into this are already seeing serious wins. We're talking entire ad funnels, but the problem I keep seeing is that most of the tools out there can't deliver that level of performance. They're slow, limited, or produce videos that feel just a bit off. And that's where the opportunity is right now. If you pick the right platform while the space is still early, you can build systems that let you test faster, scale further, and run circles around anyone still doing things the old way. Looking at our scorecard, it's pretty clear that if you want the speed, realism, and flexibility to actually make AI UGC work at scale, there's only one tool that ticks every box, and that's Arcad's. And right now, you have a massive opportunity to jump ahead of the entire ad space. Imagine opening up your dashboard and seeing new record months back to back. Imagine being able to test thousands of ad variations in days, not months, and finding winners that scale without burning through your budget, or launching a new product and having a library of ready-to-go, high-converting UGC ads before your competitors have even booked a shoot. That's the level of speed, scale, and results you can unlock by signing up with the clear winner from this entire breakdown, Arcad's. So if you're ready to move faster, spend less, and dominate your market while this opportunity is still wide open, now's the time to jump in. And just to save you the hassle of hunting it down, I've dropped the link in the description so you can go ahead and start using it right away.